and take a holiday in the land where the palm trees sway. Your ship sets sail today for the islands. Come on and taste a little slice of this tropic paradise. And the weather is always nice on the islands. You can sit beneath the shady trees, feel the spray on the ocean breeze. You can learn to live a life of ease, where we do just anything we please. Come on and make your dreams come true in the middle of the ocean blue. Hear the music calling you to the island. Ocean breeze, you can learn to live a life of ease, where we do just anything we please. Come on and take a holiday in the land where the palm trees sway. Your ship sets sail today. Pack your bags and don't delay. Leave your troubles far away. Come to the island.
scenes when we lost a dear friend of ours this year. And I did want to put together something special for you guys. Obviously, a lot of us miss him, and I'd like to celebrate him tonight, so I kind of put together a little montage intro, and with the help of our friends getting the right photos. And that's it. It's not about us. We're just a vessel to maybe remember Andrew, Mr. Tiki Head, everybody. If we could, lights dim the house just a little bit. And we're going to try and play along to Andrew's video that we did with him. Okay? Cue. Dim lights, thank you. Cue. Thank you, everybody.
everybody. Welcome to Eclectic American Roots. Today's show is the Roots of Tiki Music and Culture, Volume 3. In Volumes 1 and 2, we covered a wide slice of Tiki lifestyle with special tributes to Martin Denny and Mr. Tiki Head. We had conversations with Shag, Charles Phoenix, Bamboo Ben, and Otto von Stroheim. Spike Marble also hosted musical appearances from the StellarJAX, Tiki Yaki Orchestra, Hula Girls, and Jason Lee. And we learned cocktail recipes from Trader Sam's and the Tonga Hut. Today we welcome Surfer Joe from Italy to talk about why Tiki culture and surf music go hand in hand. Our host, Jason Lee, will chat with famed podcaster Adrian from inside the Desert Oasis Room, and we'll learn how the Surfaris developed the original Wipeout from Bob Berryhill himself.
That's right, kids. You're watching Goon Beach.
Now you can be part of the action with the coolest place around.
Wow.
Finally, Jason Lee and the Riptides playset with Go-Go Wagon.
That was San Diego's Jason Lee and the Riptides, and the man behind the music is our host today. Jason is a writer and producer in TV and film, and also records, supplying a vintage guitar sound with a modern twist. He's made it a personal goal to get the surf guitar and 1960s instrumental music recognized as a more viable genre of music. He not only promotes surf music, he also provides educational classes and has led one of YouTube's top instructional video companies teaching guitar techniques for surf, rockabilly, and spaghetti westerns through user-friendly tutorials. Jason Lee has developed his lifelong musical passion into a 14-piece ensemble, Jason Lee and the Black Tide Orchestra, a more exotic and classic sound with haunting and compelling originals and covers. But this guitar player promises that the raucous sounds of the Riptides will always be there to get you up and get you dancing. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Lee.
I am so honored to present to you guys our next guest. He's an iconic fixture of modern hot rod tiki art, creating a genuine style that is instantly recognizable at all tiki events and more. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Big Toe Laura.
Hey everybody. Hey Jason, how's it going?
It's going good, man. It's thanks for being on episode 3, man. You're definitely an artist that I wanted to get on here, and it's going to be good to catch up with you, and we can see all the stuff you've been doing. So thank you for being here, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I really enjoyed the first 2 shows, so I'm completely stoked to be on with you guys.
Good, awesome, man. So I just want to get started with some really cool questions that I've always been intrigued about you, and I'm sure that a lot of other viewers that are particularly into, Tiki might learn about you. So when I did further research on you, I was really excited to learn that you did art direction for OP and Maui and Sons, and as a to me as a 90s kid growing up in Southern California, that was really cool to see that you did that, because those are like, I mean, come on, Ocean Pacific, and I was wearing that stuff, man. So that was super cool, and that leads me to my first question is, how does an artist like yourself currently go from art direction and clothing design in the surf and skate and snow industry, and then move into, what I would call for you lowbrow, highbrow, hot rod tiki art in the medium that you work with now?
Wow. Well, I grew up in Southern California, and I was a little surf rat, and so my introduction to art was Mad Magazine and Surfer Magazine, and every summer my family would go down to stay at San Leo State Park in Encinitas, North County, San Diego, and I would see those posters, most like from Rick Griffin and Evans and some other guys, and those posters, those surf posters that would be stapled to the telephone poles, was like the greatest thing ever. So that was my introduction to art. So I started drawing a lot as a kid, and I went to art school, and I was like fine art and commercial art. And when I got out of school, I looked around, and I wasn't really interested in what was happening in the fine art world, so I went into commercial art. And I just sort of gravitated towards the action sports world, surfing and skating and snowboarding, and because that's where I saw my people. So, I worked in surfwear for decades, and supported my family that way, and had a interesting life in Southern California. Did a lot of traveling, and so I art, as you mentioned, I art directed for OP and Hobie and Greg Knoll and Red Sand and Rusty, a couple other companies. I had a little design firm that did consulting, where we designed apparel packages and did marketing, ads and websites and stuff, and then also designed products, so skateboards and snowboards mostly. But I got to a point where I was just missing making art, that was, sort of sparked the childlike, stoke of my youth. So I started painting again, and the sort of three tiers to my art are, the hot rod thing, growing up in Southern California, my dad was a hot rodder. And then surfing, because I was a beach rat. And then tiki, I picked up on the way, because working in the surf companies, we did a lot of traveling for research and development. So I went to most of the Hawaiian Islands and Fiji and Samoa and Tahiti and Australia, and sort of was immersed into Polynesian culture, and really developed a love for, all things, South Pacific. So that's how I got into tiki, and I, ran into a guy called Holden Westland at a Rick Griffin art show in Laguna Beach, and that kind of sort of got me more into tiki and designing tiki mugs, and I guess that was around 2006. So I would be there for whatever surf company I was working for, and then along the back of the wall there's this tiki facade, and Holden there, and I think he may have introduced me to the Piz, or I saw the Piz at a booth, like a skateboard company next to Holden's booths. you know, that's so many rum drinks ago. I don't really remember, but yeah, I was exposed to that whole, you know, pop surrealism, lowbrow, whatever you want to call that art world when I was still, you know, just doing surf graphics.
Wow. Well, I gotta say, you know, at least in my, let's say, 15 years of trying to, you know, play all the, or, you know, push the envelope of surf music, I've always been honored to be taken in by the Tiki community for about the last decade. It's been amazing to always see you and, you know, a handful of others as the diehard artists that really make sure that you're consistent and that you're continuously there and that you're a part of the art shows and you're always, you know, pushing that envelope further. So I on a personal level, I never told you this, and I'd like everyone to know that you're always just a pleasant disposition when I see you. It doesn't matter if it's the Sunday night at Oasis and you guys are tearing down and you're just thrashed, and you know, because you've seen me get off of doing 3 shows a day and I'm just thrashed. But
Yeah.
you know, you generally you've got this great, you know, pleasant disposition that you're trudging it out. I hate to say it that way, but it's like it's art, right? You've got to sit there and you've got to, you know, hello to all the new people.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, most of my life is spent here in this little space here. My easel's right here, and this tabaret thing is my, you know, that's where I keep all my paint. So I'm in this space, you know, most of my life. So when I go out to those shows and I'm hearing, you know, the soundtrack to Tiki, which is you guys and the other bands, and you know, I'm getting to talk to people that buy my art. That's like gravy for me. I'm having so much fun, you know, just getting out in the world and getting to hear music and see people and you know, people watching and getting inspired by all my fellow artists. So I'm completely high on endorphins when you see me at those events.
Who are some of your, you know, art-wise, who are some of your direct influences? You know, I don't know if I see a little bit of Robert Williams in there.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, because you've got your own modern take on everything.
I can go and show you the books. Well, no, I mean, originally my huge influences were the artists like Don Martin and those guys from Mad Magazine, and Rick Griffin, both his cartoons and his paintings, and then as I got into art school, you know, I learned about you know, fine artists, historical fine artists. So, you know, there were artists like John Singer Sargent and you know, Van Gogh and you know, a lot of sort of narrative artists throughout, you know, Andrew Wyeth, artists throughout history that sort of had a native bent to their art. But then when I got into the surf world, you know, a magazine called Juxtapose came out, and that was like mind-blowing because I was exposed to new influences like Robert Williams, as you said, and then also other guys that were doing a lot of kitsch artists at the start, you know, like in the early 2000s, like Mark Ryden and Glenn Barr and Todd Shore and the Piz, who was a huge influence and also very encouraging with my career early on, which I really appreciate. And you know, just there was a lot of hot rod artists like Von Franco and Keith Wiesner and Mitch O'Connell. He was more of a tiki guy. Quite frankly, the two artists that I think are most influential on me now are Doug Horn and Ken Ruzick. And I can be very disparaging about those guys when you see my posts on Facebook, but they're heroes, man. Those guys they're both brilliant artists in their own way and are incredibly prolific and you know, deservedly very beloved in the tiki world.
So Tom, you and I got to, you know, have a good talk this March at an event that you were vending, and that was really cool. And I was able to pick up a copy of this amazing new book that I am so stoked on, and it was kind of the idea why I really wanted you on the show. It actually sits on my baby brand here. I think it looks good on a black baby brand. But more importantly, great talk that we had, and gotta give it to Tom. He'll always give you a really cool little liner, shout out signatures. My wife and I, she's dancing, and there's me. But more importantly, my big question is, this is a nice book, man. I mean, this is a really nice book. Everything's just so well done. And tell us about the journey of Gratisfaction. I mean, finding a publisher, choosing the right pieces that you wanted. I mean, this book really feels curated to me, because I've got all your stickers and all the other stuff, which is cool. But this felt like I got a little bit more, for me as a musician, to be fair, not an art collector per se. This felt like I got a little bit more of a piece of you from the last 5 years. So tell us what it was like. Publishing, everything. We want to know.
So going back a few years, I work with reference photos from a lot of different photographers. And one of my particular favorites is a Central California photographer, consummate professional, amazing hot rod and pinup photographer named Shannon Brooke. And she is absolutely one of my, she's an amazing artist and a beautiful person in and out. And she has a couple books of her photography and hot rod art that were published by an independent publisher in Wisconsin. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Wisconsin?
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Called Working Class Publishing. You know, I sent them most of the artwork that I'd done for the past decade, and they picked the things they liked. And there was a number of, some of my, I think, most important paintings that didn't work out for one reason or the other in this book. So, but I think that the book is curated by, paced and designed so beautifully by them. And I couldn't be more appreciative of the amazing job that they've done.
I just really wanted to kind of like touch on this book, because it's just done so
thanks.
well. And I know how hard it can be with publishing, even with Sven's story and everybody. Publishing doesn't come out of nowhere. I work in music publishing, and it's the same thing. I mean, you got to find someone that wants to work with you. And you can't tell someone to do what you want to do in publishing. Am I right?
Well, no, I feel blessed and honored and humbled that Bob and Kelly chose to birth my baby. What is they're my art doula. And just the fact that they were able to take a chance on publishing my goofy art in a book and find a way to pace it. We put the tiki art at the front end and the hot rod, custom culture, pinup, stuff at the back, and surf sort of interspersed, because the surf kind of is the word interleaving between the tiki and the hot rod, because those three lifestyles are sort of the three. This is going to sound stupid, but those are like the three last vestiges of outlaw culture in Southern California. The surfers, the tiki people, and the hot rod people are like, the iconoclasts in our, $10 coffee culture here in Southern California. And they do an amazing job with a bunch of different pinup artists. So please do go check out workingclasspublishing.com, and that's where you can also pick up my book, Gratisfaction, the unaspirational art of Big Toe. The best place to keep up with what's going on in the Big Toe art world is through my Instagram page, which is Big Toe Art and Instagram. And then I also have a Facebook page that is essentially the same content, which is Big Toe Productions, if you're not on Instagram. And then the best place to shop is on my Etsy page, which is you can find that through my Instagram. But that's where I post, like when I have a mug release, that's where I post all that stuff.
So Tom, a lot of us were involved in this big event that was going to come up, the Lowbrow Luau. I know I was excited to be a part of it, and I already had heard from Chris at Stellar Events that you were in on the art, and he teased me some of the stuff. So you know, the event's going to keep happening next year, but how was it working on the poster and everything? I mean, the poster in itself is already really cool, and it has kind of a different look to it for a SoCal Hot Rod Tiki weekender.
Oh, thanks. You know, that was super fun to work on, and I was super stoked that Christopher wanted me to work on it. And I mean, it does seem kind of perfectly in my wheelhouse, right? I mean, having it be called the Lowbrow Luau, you know, Tiki and the lowbrow world, or you know, in the music thing, or some of my you know definite influences. So he mentioned what he wanted to see, and I immediately had the vision of the style of it, with the bright colors and the kind of irreverent, goofy characters and the fun type. Sneaking in some tikis and some monsters, and giving it a little bit of an Ed Roth look, but not too crazy to scare away the mid-century modern people. And I had a great time caricaturizing Charles Phoenix and turning him into a tiki, and just all the little elements. I mean, it was super fun to get to sort of formulate all the different attractions with Christopher, and figure out how we were going to visualize all those, pack so much action, and try to get the flavor of that super cool, mid-century Long Beach venue, and pack it all into that one little space.
Again, Tom, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's really important that we had you for episode 3. We know you've been tuning in. So again, man, it means a lot. We're honored that we could have Big Toe himself on this episode.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's great chatting with you. And I didn't get to say to you that your music is just part of the soundtrack of visualizing the tiki world, and so definitely mutual admiration society.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Jeff Big Tiki Dude Hansen, known all throughout Southern California as the official surf music aficionado, let alone around the world, to be honest. And Jeff has done an amazing job over the last 15 years, 20 years, curating shows, putting together compilations, running the Surf Guitar 101 Festival, and today he's got something really special for us in the way of a compilation that only he will know to do the right songs and the right history on surf music, especially here in Southern California and all over.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff, Big Tiki Dude. I'd like to thank Chris for inviting me to sit in on the show again, and kind of give you a little bit of a heads up on the mix of tiki music and surf music, and how it kind of goes together and crosses the genre borders, and if it's legit or blasphemy. I remember back in the 90s, there was a lot of tiki people that didn't want surf music involved in the scene at all. And I am happy to say that through Tiki Oasis and Auto and a few other events, that it is infiltrating over the years, and I'm quite happy with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to play you 6 videos, and we're going to be explaining about why the music is a crossover of the two. And then also, like with the art, and maybe who's involved in it and the vibe on it, how it's involved, and why it's a little bit more tiki than just straight ahead surf. So let's start off with the Huntington Cads with Enchantment. Alrighty, so we're going to start it off with two bands that the tiki artist Shag was involved in. He was the rhythm guitar player in the Huntington Cads, and he was the lead guitar player in the Tiki Tones. So let's start it off with the Huntington Cads and Enchantment. Alrighty, we're back. So that was, as I said, two songs by bands that featured Shag, the tiki artist. The lead guitar player in the Huntington Cads was the amazing Chris Barfield, and he's working on some new stuff that's really got me itching to be hearing what he's working on now. The second song we heard there was Topple the Moai by the Tiki Tones. And I used to see those guys a lot back at the Doll Hut in Anaheim in the late 90s and early 2000s. Alrighty, up next, another band that was very, very influential for me in the crossover of the surf and the tiki thing. It's the Blue Hawaiians. They used to play at the Lava Lounge in Hollywood back in the 90s and early 2000s. And this is their amazing The Last Days of Summer.
Hey, everybody out there in the Tiki world. Welcome to Eclectic American Roots on a Sunday matinee. We're so excited to have all these great guests. We're going to get right back to it because I don't want to take a minute away from this show. But just a reminder, we pay the musicians that appear on the show by donation only. It's a free show. You don't have to donate a nickel. But if you don't, at least share it to your friends because we're very proud of this show. If you're going to donate, though, which we appreciate, StellarJAX.com is our main source of donations. And if you're on Venmo, you can go to JAXhideaway, JAX. Well, right now, let's get on with the show.
Our next guest started a podcast 4 years ago, evolving around his home tiki bar, the Desert Oasis Room. Soon after, the show began to grow into a mobile podcast, interviewing hundreds of tiki files, artists, and creatives, bringing to light some amazing stories, amazing cocktails, and lifelong friendships. I have the proud pleasure of introducing my friend, Adrian Eustachio, from inside the Desert Oasis Room. Welcome, Adrian.
Aloha. How you doing, Jason?
Aloha. I'm doing great. It's a hot day in San Diego, and I got my beverage here.
Another day in paradise.
Thanks so much for coming on episode 3. When Chris asked me to host this one, I really wanted to get you, and we've done a lot of interview work together.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being on the show.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna start off right away by saying that I think you've done an amazing job with your show to continuously bring people together while they might have a little more time at home this year. So
thank you.
Thanks for doing that, man.
Yeah, thanks. It's been interesting this year. Because, typically I'll have people over here at the Desert Oasis Room, hence the name, inside the Desert Oasis Room. But sometimes I'll do these interviews at some of our favorite bars or some of our favorite musical venues. But the quarantine has kind of changed all of that. And it's been interesting to see how we've all adjusted to that. But, through the miracle of modern technology, we've been able to stay connected. And I've been able to continue to talk to people far and wide.
Yeah, I've seen you do up to 2 or 3 podcasts in one day.
Yeah.
When everything was flowing. So I'm sure it's nice to be able to at least take what you've done. And I thought you did a really good job, a really cool job almost of touching light on life changing a little bit, but not taking it too negative. You kept it positive, and you brought some I would call extracurricular guests onto the show, which was really smart because it's like, hey, if you've got the time to do it, or these guests have amazing stories to tell.
Sure, yeah.
A little bit of life changing. You've done a fantastic job of keeping your format, this now popular format of Inside the Desert Oasis Room, to a lot of other artists and creatives.
Thanks. Yeah. It's been neat. What I like about doing the podcast is it's not even just so much enriching my friendships, which is really one of the biggest things that I enjoy the most, but hearing everyone's story. One of the things that I've realized was over the years, we know each other through tiki or music or cocktails, but we don't really all sit down for an hour or 2 hours to learn about each other. And
I think
And the podcast has allowed me to do that, right? Like you and I have known each other for years on a very, how do I say this? A very casual level.
Very, yeah.
Since I've had you on the podcast, your friendship, to me at least, has, I feel like it's really enriched our, we have a deeper friendship, and our relationship has been so much more enriched because we got to sit down and take the time to learn about each other.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those things that happen, nowadays with modern technology, where it was just a few Facebook messages back and forth, arguing about the best Mexican food in Southern California. And
Right.
then speaking of honorary Tiki Files, you know, you having Matt Reese and I in his bar in San Diego, and you came down and you got us food, and then it's like exactly what you're saying. You know, that stuff totally sparked into a much deeper friendship where I truly can say, like, you know me pretty well. Like, you kind of know my tics now, and you know, and how I work, and you know my workflow because you've done, you know, music videos with me now and stuff, which is cool. But that leads me to my main question that I wanted to have you for this special is with you being now like the top interviewer, in my opinion, in Tiki.
I'm humbled. And
being able to like flat out do, you know, 1 to 2 hour interviews with Sven and Bosco and Jeff Beach Bum Berry and artists well outside of Tiki that you've always, you know, been huge fans of. I want to flip that model, that what you do, on its head, and then just direct the question towards you. What's it been like for you personally, where you do get invited into these people's homes? You're just hanging out with the Buens, you know, at the bar when it's closed. You know, what's it like in your shoes now, you know, 200 plus episodes later, that you get to share all those stories and all the personal things that even happen off the microphones when you're doing your podcast?
Well, let me start by saying thank you for the kind words. Thank you so much. So to answer your question, a few things. So again, it harkens back to like what I said earlier, that it's enriched my relationships with these people that I've spoken with. But I've learned a lot of things that, you know, we all have a kind of this common thing that, number one, everyone has a story. Everyone that thinks that they're boring or has nothing to say, you know, they don't have to be a musician. They don't have to be an artist. They don't have to be a business owner to have a story. Everyone has a story. And I've found that we are all in search of the same thing. We all want what's best for our families. We're all in search of happiness. We all seek escapism. We are all very much alike, whether or not we agree on who has the best burrito, whether or not we agree on politics, whether or not we agree on lifestyle. But we're all after the same thing. We're all after the pursuit of happiness and what's best for our lives and our families. And it's a common thing across the world. You know, it's the basic human element of, you know, we just all want to live a good, happy life. And I've been able to meet a lot of people that I've held in such high regard before. You know, you, for example, is somebody that I've always been somewhat intimidated by. You're this kind of like this enigma, this figure, this rock star that's you know, it's always been like that cool guy with the cool persona that plays the awesome guitar on stage. And there are people like that. Of course, we're going to be intimidated by celebrity, right? And it's humanized people in a way to where, like, I've learned that, okay, they're all people. We all want the same thing. And I'm able to connect with them now on a very basic level and develop these friendships that I probably, without this podcast, I probably would still be a distant, you and I probably still have kind of a distant relationship. And I learned that, like, wow, this Jason Lee guy is super cool. He's somebody that I could really be friends with. And I learned that about a lot of people. A lot of times the people that I have on the podcast, I didn't even know them before I had them on the show. They're on the show because someone recommended them, or I had finally the courage to ask them to be on the show because I've been a fan of theirs for a long time. And I wanted to have them be on. I wanted to feature them, and I wanted to learn more about them. And there's somebody that I can sit down and, like you know, what was it, a year ago, I'm in one of your music videos and I'm eating barbecue in your backyard with you.
Yeah. And you're in my studio. I completely gave you my studio to do an episode in, and like nobody's allowed in my studio. Like no one can walk in there. And I just thought, you know what? Like this is going to be, I think, the third episode, even related maybe to me, but it's time to like just open the place up to you. You know, we're real welcoming of you at the house here.
Oh,
But more importantly, like just give you the whole studio. And then what did you have, like 9 guests, 10 on the music video shoot?
We rotated in the band, we rotated in the dancers, and the thing that I am most flattered about is not only was I allowed to work in your studio, which is a huge honor, but you trusted me with, like, you walked away and you just left me and said, hey, whatever you need, you just do what you need to do. And so that's super flattering, you know.
Yeah, but that's
the kind of relationship we've developed from having the podcast. You know, I've been able to develop relationships like that with other people, you know, having had them on the show.
I can tell it's really cool, because I think I've told you so many times that, you know, when I'm training on my bike every day, I listen to your podcast, so I can generally get through them. And I think you've done such a good job with format, with the interviewees that you have. It's like an hour's gone by, and I'm like, why is it over? But it's an hour. I mean, it truly is nowadays for short Twitch, you know, attention spans for everybody. You're doing something that's in my media too, that I do, is very, you know, long format, and you've done it. You've pulled it off where you can pull off these. I mean, shit, I would want to talk to Sven for 2 hours.
Thanks. Well, you know, and I just did last week.
That's amazing, man. I mean, again, like the roster that you've had, and like, you know, Bosco lives down the street from me, but it's like, even from your podcast, like I know, you know, just all the little details of, you know, his history, which is really cool. And you've been able to kind of, in a really, you know, nice way, pull that out. Because I'm not a mixologist whatsoever. Like, give me a painkiller, I'm good to go. I'm drinking a coffee right now with, you know, some rum in it. But because I've watched you or listened to you mix so many drinks now inside the Desert Oasis, and bring in so many special guest bartenders, where you totally know your counts of everything and you know what to add. The 2-part question is, what is your favorite drink, and then cocktail to make, especially for tiki, right? And then 2, what drink would you recommend to an up-and-coming rum aficionado?
Okay, so first part, my favorite cocktail is not even something that I can make myself. It is a raised mistake, and it comes from the Tiki Tea. And what I love about that cocktail is that it has such a unique story. It was a drink that was being served to somebody who normally ordered another drink, and then Ray Buin, the owner and founder of the Tiki Tea, mistakenly put the wrong syrup in it, and this drink was born. And it has such a really delicious tropical vibe to it that, you know, when this drink was made by accident, he went to throw it out, but the person who ordered it said, no, you know what, let me have everybody in the bar take a sip and see what they think. And everybody loved it, and they said, we need to name this thing. You need to put this on the menu. And they called it the Raised Mistake. It has a secret ingredient. It's a syrup that I don't know the ingredients to and how they make. And that's what makes that drink a secret and very unique. And the whole thing about, you know, the story of the Tiki Tea and Ray being one of Don the Beachcomber's original bartenders, and how the drink came about and all that. The fact that it's delicious, and it's the only place in the world where you can get it. Everything about it makes it special. So that would be my favorite drink. But the drink that I think that everyone should try if they're new and they're just getting into rum, and it's even a very easy drink to make, I think, is a basic daiquiri. And the reason being, it's a 3-ingredient drink. So it's rum, lime, and sugar. And the drink will change no matter whatever rum you use, the drink will change. And you can change the sugar as well. So if you're using a simple syrup, it'll be different than if you're using a honey syrup or if you're using a demerara syrup. And all you're doing is changing the kind of syrup or changing the kind of rum, and the drink changes. And so if you really want to know how a rum behaves in a cocktail, you make a simple daiquiri, and it'll give you an idea.
Yeah, just learning so much about cocktails from you on the show, the Buin's history, Tiki Tea, and all that. I wouldn't have gone out.
And I'm not a mixologist either. You know, like I've learned things along the way, and I'm a home bartender. I've never run a bar, owned a bar, or anything like that. So take
Yeah,
that.
well, you're a home bartender that has definitely taken it to the next level.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you to say. Thanks.
Yeah, on that note, I'd like people to go, check out what Adrian's doing for a truly unique, fully decked out, home bar. Details and lengths you've gone to complete this room. When you do have people over, I know you've got some big things coming up and some things you can't talk about, and that's awesome.
We're going to be bringing something to an audience that people are going to enjoy even more, and really, I just continue to do what I do with the podcast because it's something that I truly enjoy. It was a passion project that was started in the period of a layoff, and it was one of those things where I thought, well, I'll pursue my passions. Now's the time, right? Give it a shot. You never know, that butterfly effect, what's going to happen. Just that one little change you make, it just takes you down a different path. So
yeah, and I'm excited to be working with you soon too. So that'll be really nice.
Yeah, me too. Always excited to work with you, Jason. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, well, this has been amazing, man. Where can everyone find you? So where do we find your podcast? One, where do we find your website? And then two, I'd like to remind people that Adrian does do this off donations too. So he's got sponsors, but really, podcast wise for the audio, that's a big thing to always click that donate button. So where can we find you, Adrian?
Thank you for that. So my website is desertoasisroom.com. I load up all of my new episodes there, but the podcast can be found in all media outlets. So iTunes, which I think they're calling Apple Music these days, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Overcast, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, you name it. It's on all music outlets. If you hit that little podcast button on your cell phone and you type it inside the Desert Oasis Room, it'll pop up there too. So, yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here, Adrian. This is a really special moment to have you on this episode, and you've gotten like almost everybody that I've ever wanted to hear in a podcast, and it's really cool because I can just do it in a mobile format when I'm on the go, but I still kind of feel like I'm getting my fix of Tiki, I can still go back and revisit, an episode from Sven and then hear what happened with Tashin or something. And all the really cool things that you pulled out of so many amazing artists. But again, thank you for being here, Adrian, and we're all going to check you out online, man. I've always wanted to do this to you because you always get to ask your guest this question. I've been wanting to ask you this question, and you're already laughing. If you could have any superpower, Adrian, what would it be and why?
I love it. Okay, so I have a couple answers, and just because I've heard this question, I asked this question a lot, and I've heard some really good answers. So I'm going to give you three. Number one, I'd love to be able to teleport so that if I wanted to go to the Mai Kai for dinner, I could go to the Mai Kai for dinner and still be back home at a decent bedtime, or go to Hawaii for lunch or anything like that. Number two, I'd love to be able to communicate with my pets, because sometimes I don't know what they're thinking and why they're doing what they're doing. And number three, I'd love to be able to eat whatever I want without getting fat. So there you go.
Yeah, I think we all want number three.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Adrian. You truly have been a special part of making this a multifaceted episode, and a lot of our newer viewers to this special are going to get to see what you've done over the last 4 years.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
So how'd you hear about this guy?
Johnny told me about him. He sure can throw a party.
Hi, I'm Kim Brandy. I'm the creator and founder of Deadhead Rum. I am also the CEO of Iconic Brands and Marketing and handle all of the sales and distribution in the United States from...
My name is Eduardo. I'm the general manager at Rums from Mexico. And it's a family-owned business, 3 generations, and the 3rd generation. I'm presenting Jorge Perez, who is our master blender with a lot of experience in the world of rum. He was for more than 10 years involved in the production and blending at Havana Club in Havana, in Cuba. So our rums have a lot of flavor coming from that Caribbean tradition. 1, 2, 3. Deadhead!
Aloha folks, welcome to Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour, a special edition for Eclectic American Roots of Tiki and Culture and Music, and I think that's the whole name. I have been challenged to use our sponsor rum in a cocktail. And this is a cocktail, this is one of my favorite cocktails to make when I first got into making tiki cocktails. It's the Painkiller from 1971 from the Virgin Islands. And I thought this Deadhead rum would complement it nicely, so let's get into the cocktail. All right, so for this cocktail, we are going to use orange juice. And the best thing to do is to use fresh oranges because it's quick and easy to squeeze orange juice. We will be using 1 ounce of orange juice. And we will pour that into our mixing glass here. And then pineapple juice. Be sure to shake these if you're going to use these little Dole cans, and they are unsweetened, so they're great for tiki cocktails. We will be using 4 ounces of this Dole pineapple juice. So there's 2 there, and 2 here. All right, the fun ingredient is this weird coconut goo. There's a couple brands that you can use, but I like this stuff because it comes in this pour spout guy. And we will be using 1 ounce. We will be using 1 ounce of this goo. All right, there we go. And you can just drop that in there. And if you have to use the back of a knife to kind of spoon it in, you can. This is a super simple cocktail, and it's really tasty. People don't really consider it a tiki cocktail. They call it more kind of tropical because it was developed in the British Virgin Islands. It's tough to say that. We're going to be using the Deadhead rum, and this is an aged rum. So traditionally you'd be using pussers for this kind of drink, but we will be using this Deadhead rum, and it's 2.5 ounces. So that was 2 ounces and a half. There's the cocktail right there. And for this cocktail, we will be shaking it. So the best ice you can possibly use for tiki cocktails is from Sonic, the drive-thru. And if you go through the drive-thru and you ask for ice, they'll bring out a big bag for you. It's about $3 or something, or $2.70. Anyway, you're gonna fill up our shaker guy with ice, pour that into that, give it a smack, and shake it. With this cocktail, I like to serve these in coconut mugs because they have the coconut goo. I have one of my vintage tiki coconut mugs here. And you fill it up. Top it off with more ice. Get all this off your bar. And then I have a little salt and pepper shaker that I use with cinnamon and nutmeg. You just pour that in there. Garnish with a cinnamon stick. There's the painkiller with Deadhead rum. Aloha. If you'd like to see more of these cocktail videos, I have about 22 of them on the Hula Girls YouTube channel. So go check them out. I've got a lot of guests, Pinup Palmer and McBiff and all kinds of tiki artists and pinup models and all kinds of stuff. It's great. Hey, Jason, thanks. On with the show.
Now, we take you to Nashville, Tennessee, home of Safari's legend Bob Berryhill.
I always wanted my family around me. That's how we started. But when I was a child, my older sister played steel guitar and I played guitar, and we had lots of friends that played instruments. They would come over to our house, and it was like one big family. And later on, when the Safaris, you know, like anything else, you kind of go in and out of style. But I've kept playing all through these years, basically getting the opportunities to play wherever I could. I did a lot of things that were recital type things, but the idea of the Safaris came up, and we started playing local dances. And after, 3 or 4 years of playing together, things kind of changed. And then later on in about 1980, we tried a few reunions. And then in the 90s, I put together my own band where Gene became my bass player at that point. After we traveled in Europe for about 11 weeks with about 11 or 12 people, we toured around there and then came back and put a band together that has been playing regularly since 1990. When you go into a studio, we had to go into a big town of Cucamonga, California. That's a little ghost town outside of LA. We showed up in this dark area of town, and there it was, opened up a door, and it was PAL Studios. Walked in, we set up, got the drums set up, the guitars and everything, and we recorded Surfer Joe. That was our A side, and that was a vocal by Ron Wilson, the drummer, who did the drumming on Wipeout. And so after we recorded Surfer Joe, they said, well, you need a second song for your 45. So we had to quickly write a song. And so Ronnie starts playing the drum beat that you've heard all over the world. It's basically a marching band cadence that he created. And he starts playing that. And I said, we better put some chords and a melody to this, or it'll be a drum solo. So I picked the key of B to play with, and that kind of changed the tenor. And we went da 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 da. And we went da 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 da. Wrote a little quick melody and put the drum breaks in it. And about 3 takes later, we had the song. And then they said, "What are you going to call it?" And Jim Fuller walks up to the microphone with a switchblade in his hand, which he'd gotten from Tijuana the weekend before. Clicks it on the microphone, and he goes, "Switchblade." Well, the sound guy goes, "We need a bigger click than that." So my dad goes out and gets a cement-soaked piece of plywood, brings it in, and the bass player, Pat Conley, breaks it over the microphone. And then they said, "Well, that sounds like a bustin' surfboard." And I said, "Well, there's already a song called Bustin' Surfboard. We have to come out with some of their name." And I said, "Well, let's do something like, how do you get a busted surfboard? It's wiping out." And so Dale Smallin comes out to the microphone that we just had, comes out to the microphone and goes, "Ha, ha, 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 wipe out." 2 weeks later, we had a 45 with the crack, the laugh, and the song. 3 months later, it's #1 in Los Angeles. So that was pretty fast.
Next up is our weekly video host, Big Sandy, rockabilly legend and musical historian, who has a special presentation for us.
Hello, sinners, friends, loved ones. Big Sandy here, Roots of Tiki 3. And I have a really fun mixed bag of goods for you here today. Starting with this rarity from my collection. A lot of people were turned on to this song by Tommy Mercer and the McBrides through the Cramps, who hipped a lot of people to some twisted, exotic, primitive sort of stuff over the years. But this version of this song hasn't been heard before. It's an alternate. I think it's the same take, but a different mix with the sound effects in overdrive, and it's kind of a popcorn rock and roll meets exotica. I'll send this one out to all the lava lovers out there. Tommy Mercer, Volcano Rock.
Sings with steam and shouts with a roar, dances with a flame and rocks with a floor. Her loud motor soothes too high, the fire and rock shot up in the sky. The birds flew higher out of the way, the mountain below started to sway. The people ran, the fishes they swam, as she started with the rock and roll jam. Volcano rock. Loud, she started to shake, rocking the earth with a mighty loud quake. Her flame shot higher, rocks tumbled down. She dressed in her molten, flowing lava gown. The spray shook her loud and blown. There was nothing left but her head was torn. The earth was rumbling from the big shock, but she kept right on with the rolling rock.
Getting hot.
Yeah. Bud Tutmark, right there from 1954, from Bud's TV show that ran in the Seattle area on a local TV station. Kohala March and Twilight Blues were those two songs. A box of those tapes were found in the bass player's closet and saved right before being thrown out. So salvaged, saved, and passed on to you here at Eclectic American Roots. A little bit of almost forgotten history. I dig it. Hope you do too. And now for this next combination of clips, we're going to go back from the 50s to the previous decade, to Lonnie McIntyre and his orchestra. And it's sort of a reminder that the allure of the islands and all things exotic had been going on for decades, always mixing with the music of the day. The music for the islands would blend in with whatever was happening here in the mainland, and creating a beautiful thing along the way. So let's take a look now at Mr. McIntyre and his band. But take special note of Halaloma and the steel guitar. Dig it. It's so cool.
Holo holo ka onni anna tahui la lavia halilo tuagu oe a pau pono na wa hello e kawana holo holo ka onni anna tahui la lavia halilo tuagu oe a pau pono na wa hello e kawana na holo holo ka onni anna tahui la lavia halilo lavai ho'oi maka au au. Wana zamasani heleulu. Me uli sapai na me sahizona. Me nasi se e alla nui. Allava iho oi maka au au. Wana zamasani heleulu. Me uli sapai na me sahizona. Me nasi se e alla nui. Ina tove hi ezule. Deuli ho ine hiza haua. Step on the gas, how lovely a halilo. Keonine hiza huila. Ina tove hi ezule. Deuli ho ine kahau. Step on the gas, how lovely a halilo. Keonine hiza huila. Keonine hiza huila. Ina tove hi ezule. Deuli ho ine kahau. Step on the gas now, going my way.
Sit on the shores of Waikiki. Sit by my side and I'll sing to thee. Sit under the stars and make love to me. Just don't sit on my ukulele. 46 on the top and around the back. Leilani's built like a little grass shack. She brings me shade when we sit by the sea. Just don't sit on my ukulele. 46, 24, 46. She cracks the coconuts with her hips. So bring your lips and sit closer to me. Just don't sit on my ukulele. Oh, so bring your lips closer to me. Just don't sit on my ukulele.
Got a place in the sun, a particular one on a tropical avenue. Far away from it all, there's a happily call the house of singing bamboo. On the windier day, seems an orchestra plays on a musical breeze for you. Like a merry salute from a heavenly flute to the house of singing bamboo. So here I'll stay, nevermore to roam from my new old-fashioned South Sea. Ooh, you don't have to count sheep, that's for little Bo Peep. You can sleep till the sun peeps through. You can dream any dream, for you know that your dreams come true. When you live in a house of singing bamboo.
Man, oh man, oh man. Another very rare clip, that one from Charles E. King's Hawaiians with the Hawaii House Girls. So good. Bravo, bravo. Then before that, I had to slip in one of my own there. A song that I recorded with the Martini Kings for the movie Camp Burlesque. That song being 462446. It was kind of fun. Hope you've enjoyed our little time together. Let's hang out, watch the rest of the show. I'm going to go mix myself a drink. I suggest that you do the same. But for now, bye-bye. Aloha.
Just a wonderful Sunday afternoon enjoying my Deadhead rum. You know, Spike had a nice cocktail that he put together, purveying Deadhead. It's quite a nice rum. Have you ever tried it? They also make a dark chocolate rum. I really recommend this. It's great in coffee and all kinds of mixed drinks. So our sponsor today, Deadhead Rum. Thank you very much for that. Speaking of this mug, Outline Studios made this mug for Escape to Tiki Island, and they're also creating one for the Lowbrow Luau coming up. That is, unfortunately, the date had to change for the Lowbrow Luau. It's now going to be Memorial Day weekend in 2021. It'll be a 3-day show with all the great stuff that Big Toe's poster shows. I had to give Big Toe a bottle of Deadhead rum to get him to do this poster. But Charles Phoenix, we've got the Bomboras, the Hula Girls, Dick Dickerson, and all kinds of surf bands coming up. It's going to be quite the affair. Hope you all can make it Memorial Day weekend. If you go to stellarshows.net, you can reserve hotel rooms and you can reserve your wristbands and your luau's and that sort of thing. Hey, we want to thank some of our high rollers today. We've got Julie Abnett back in Minnesota. She's a staunch supporter of all of our shows. I think it's just because Big Sandy's on the show, but who knows? So we're going to kick back to the show now, get back to Jason Lee and all the boys. Don't forget to please make those donations. Our musicians appreciate it, and we make sure it all goes into their pockets right off the bat. So, back to Eclectic American Roots, Tiki Music and Culture, Volume 3.
All through the 80s and into the early 90s, the Tiki revival gathered momentum. A guy named Sven Kirsten started laying the groundwork for what became the first book about Tiki, the Book of Tiki. And we all had Tikis, but we got them by buying them at yard sales, swap meets. Occasionally you'd see one in a thrift store. And one time Sven said, hey, there's this guy driving up from San Diego County with a bunch of tikis in the back of his pickup truck. And we thought that he was going to be selling tikis that he had found the same way we did. So he comes out and he lays his wares all along Sven's back patio. And one of us said, did you get all these from the same place? Is it from the same dumpster or from the same yard sale? Because they're all very of a piece. And he goes, no, I made them. It's like, you can make these? None of us had the slightest notion that you could make a tiki. You just found them. Here was a guy who had actually carved them. This guy who eventually I came to realize was named Bosco. Bosco, the first person to revive tiki carving and mug making. Now his work's all over the world, from cocktail bars to museums.
It's called Cavalcade of Surf.
So our next guest, I will call the most internationally traveled surf guitar player of our modern time, spreading his love of surf guitar all over Europe and the States. His love of tiki and surf guitar is prominent at his own Surfer Joe Festival and Surfer Joe Diner in Livorno, Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Lorenzo Surfer Joe Valdembrini.
Thank you, Jason. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Coming here for a meeting from Italy. There is not the most splendid background I'm in, but I'm in the headquarters, logistic headquarters of surf industries. So where I'm at today, but I'm glad to be with you. So I'm very happy and thankful for having me, wanting me on this program that you have. I mean, it's pretty exciting. And thanks for doing it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here. I remember on the last episode that I was lucky enough to be a part of. It was really cool during the first broadcast of it that when Big Tiki Dude Jeff Hansen was, playing different surf songs, you were there in the comments. Like every question, you're answering people's questions. And I thought, man, would he be cool for another episode? And then now that I'm helping host this one, you are a perfect fit, man. And your love for surf guitar and tiki is amazing.
Yes, it is. It is. I have dedicated quite a long time to all these things, like you, of course. Me mostly on the surf music, surf guitar, and everything. You are more of a tiki guy than me, but of course, the two things nowadays they join each other very, very well. They stay together very well.
Yeah. So let me ask you this for my first question. There's a lot of people at home now picking up the guitar this year, especially. So what are some of the things that you did, in the last few months that was really cool for guitar players at home?
Well, I will not spend time to discuss about the situation which we're in. I've done my last show in California at the end of February, by the way.
Hey, and Lorenzo, tell us about the last time you were out here. I think that was mid-February for the Stellar Show's Surf and Turf show. Is that right, out here in California?
That was fun. Thanks, Chris from Stellar Shows, and of course, my friend, the Tiki Dude, was always there. That was first of all, it was a fantastic place. The first time that I went into that venue, and it was great. And I've been talking a lot with Jeff eventually to do more and more events in there because there's a great room. And the show was fun. I have one thing that I remember well about that show. Is the first time, I've been touring with Paul Johnson. I can remember 2, 3, 4 times. It was the first time that Paul Johnson and friend, but it's the first time that I was playing Mr. Moto in front of Paul. It's one of the very few times that I played that. And so I have a good memory of that. But that was a very good show. I really thank him for them. I hope to be back in California soon. Because, coming to California is always like, is the mecca for whoever plays guitar, the way I see it. And the people is always fantastic, and the shows are always good, at least for what I've seen. And but yeah, I hope to work again with Stellar soon, Chris, because that was a fun show to me, really good. And when I arrived back home, everybody know what happened, but it's good. We continue, we carry on. I had a few tours cancel. Hopefully they will come back. I had to be back in the States actually 3 times. And 2 of these times back in California. Once actually I was very excited because I had to be on tour with Frankie the Pool Boys once more. But what I've been doing, I've been trying to write music like most people, trying to at least to find the brain to write music. But,
Yeah, I know that you had a lot of fans in Mexico, especially that kept wanting to learn, the guitar riffs from your songs, and fans from other places that were requesting that too. So I saw you put out some really cool interactive things to let people that are playing guitar at home right now learn your music.
Hello, everybody. This is Surfer Joe. The song that we're checking today is out of my Swell of Duel album that came out in 2018 for Dionysus Record and Surfer Joe Music. The song is called Hiroshi no Subarashi Ramen. Very strange title, Japanese. And it actually tells a real story because on our first tour in Japan, our friend Eddie Ugata, guitar player of the Japanese surf band the El Caminos, after a show in Kobe, brought us to eat the most fantastic ramen we've ever had. And overexcited, I wrote a song about those ramen. It's dedicated to Eddie. And I'm going to show you how to play it. You can download the backing track at the website surfmusic.net/play as usual.
Well, that really surprised me because I certainly don't consider myself an example or like a guitar player to which, to use as an inspiration. But it's strange to me, and I'm very proud of this, of course, that I've received many messages from people that I have a few times recorded playing live at the Surfer Joe Summer Festival or somewhere else, a couple of videos, probably even in Mexico. And I have some bands playing my song. So they send me messages say that they wanted to see how they were played. So I had the idea not exactly to do a program of teaching guitar, but rather to see, even for, let's state clearly, shameless promotion, or, and say, okay, well, let's make available some of the backing tracks of my songs, removing the lead guitar, and I'll play over the lead guitar, and I'll call it the Surfer Joe Play, which is available actually on the web of my website, surfmusic.net/play. And I show you a video, and I tell you some information about that song was born, some little anecdote or information about that. And it worked pretty well, actually, because I asked people to record their version of my song and send me the video. And quite a few people did it, actually. And I'm very happy for this because it was very interesting.
I'm seeing so many musicians doing really cool things and kind of stretching beyond what we're used to. So I think you and we always have a schedule, and next year we're going to be doing, this tour, and next year we're going to be putting out this album. But, when things get tripped up a little bit and you do realize that you can interact with the fans a little bit more, I think that's a really cool thing that you've done, because if they've got the time now to learn what you're playing, that's an honor. And so I think you kind of did something a little more extracurricular than what a lot of us are used to. So definitely kudos to that, man.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jason, especially because I'm certainly not the kind of guy who can give lessons, or I'm patient, or I've never done that. And dramatically for us, the people who are professionals into this job have been particularly affected by the COVID, of course, got all the tours canceled. And so I wanted to do something that was a little different than just giving a lesson.
Awesome. So I remember a few years ago coming out to your big festival, the Surfer Joe Festival right on the beach in Italy. And I really thought of you for this episode just because of that experience. And I remember getting to go out there and teach next to Shag. And I thought, man, this is a big thing for you to have Shag come out, really the top, artist in our whole subculture, and come out to Italy and teach and play that night. So that was a big deal, I think, for you having, Shad come over. And, I guess my next question to you is, how do you see the Tiki influence over there in your part of Europe, especially at your diner, Surfer Joe Diner, and then upstairs in the Tiki Room?
Well, it happened that I have here. I hope you can see. Some of you had it in like real metal version that you printed of that, the poster that Shag did for the festival that year, 2017. And it was absolutely great. It was just an occasion that we managed to have the Huntington Cats come in. So I took the chance to offer him to come over and participate somehow, because all the big names that we bring in, if we can call them big in our small environment, although Shag is a big name, big for not just for our small scene, of course. I try to involve all these persons and the legend doing just more than the concert. I would like just doing the tutorial thing. See what happened with Randy Olden, for example. With Paul Johnson, of course, and all the legends. And it was a pleasure, because it's the first time that actually we were doing a seminar regarding the artwork, the graphics, and Shag accepted to do that with pleasure, and it was a big success. I was very proud of that. It happened. It was very lucky that condition, that situation. Like it happened the 2 years before with the 10th anniversary festival. It was in 2015. Well, if you remember, there was a lineup that was massive. There was basically everybody: Santos Pilgrim, Bambi Molesters, Master Chops, and you got the Kilaueas, Boss Martians, and the Lost Acapulco, and you got everybody. And it was just 1 year that it happened that some bands were already on tour. I got them. some other I call them, it just happened very lucky here. And I could consider the same year, even 2017. Remember, there was Czech, there were the 5, 6, 7, 8. There were a bunch of other artists that actually were drawing quite a lot of people. All I can remember, now going to talk about the Tiki thing, we always had quite a few designers doing the posters throughout the year. I've been using our good friend Fred Lammers many years. Then I've used a local guy, Tommy, a couple of times, and the great Steve Nazar. Steve doing the Town and Country. When Steve did the poster for the 2015, I told Steve, you need to give me a poster like the one that you were doing in the 80s. I want the fluo colors, and he did it. But with Shag, I noticed a massive interest from people, other designer from the area, local people even from Firenze, people that have even collaborated with us, and they are collaborating with magazines here locally and over Italy, calling us and asking when is Shag, because I want to come and see him in person. I want to buy the book. Everybody he was coming out with that new book. I saw an interest from people that was not exactly in our music scene. And that was a very interesting thing when this happened. It's very important for us because I think we have to attract, they have to put together new things and give the chance to show these people that are sort of new to the scene, showing what we're doing, the music and everything. In fact, I think that this is a demonstration, like Luca, my brother, is always saying, that the music is only part of the game here. People come from the experience, so Shag, like many other activities that are not exactly related to music that we've done at our festival are all important because all these help to draw people, to bring people to this scene.
And it was really cool, just touching on what you're talking about, and to give people maybe out here in the United States an idea of what you're talking about. I mean, Livorno is like what I would call the San Diego of Italy. The community is really cool. You're right on the boardwalk of the sea right there, and I think you did an amazing job of making a surf event turn into something that was really well-rounded. That year was really special, and kind of then on, you really made it even more well-rounded with a lot of other, tiki files per se that are coming out of the woodwork to come out to a surf festival where maybe they are into just exotica and things like that. And then they get turned on even more to surf because they go to, Shag seminar or, learn a lot of the other things that you've been doing out there. So, we could play a little bit more footage of your festival and maybe, of the beach in Livorno there. Just trying to help paint a picture for me being born and raised in San Diego, and then to come out there and just be pretty blown away about the culture difference of your part of Italy as well. Firenze is nice. It's got that old school proper kind of feel, but you guys are relaxed there. It's cool. Like surf music belongs in Livorno where you're at.
Well, surf music, yes, but we've done a good job throughout the years. But definitely in the past few years, I've seen a growing of the tiki influence and people coming from that scene. And as you know, the more than 50% of the people that come to the Surfraggio Summer Festival come from outside of Italy. And I can tell you that all over Europe, that is starting being a big sort of a tiki scene. A lot of tiki bars everywhere. Many of them I went to play. But there's more and more people coming to the festival that already know about the tiki scene. People like, Martin Hamill down in Munich, they've been related with Sven Kirsten for a long time, going to all the grand opening of the tiki bar. And I've seen these more and more coming and join into the festival, especially in the past 5-6 years. And as you see out, the tikis that we have are growing and growing. We have more artists coming and carving, and this thing is going extremely well. People that were not wearing a Hawaiian shirt now will come with the Aloha shirt at the festival. There's a lot of things going on. Of course, much of that is related to the pop culture of tiki, obviously. But even the seminars, like the one that John Paul did a few years ago, explaining the real history of the tiki, went very well. So, people know more and more.
That's awesome, man. So I want your take. I want your perspective, because I count you at the top here for pushing modern surf music and making it a very viable thing in a modern era. But where do you see surf music going in the next 10 years? Where would you like it to go?
Well, as much as you know, Jason, I'm a very traditional guy. I play surf music the old way. And I think that to understand clearly what surf music was, we had to leave in 1962 in Southern California, because there was a Southern Californian phenomenon. There's nothing much to say about that. But I appreciate a lot what happened in the past 30, 40 years, all this contamination of surf music with everything, everybody, me included. I think about playing traditional surf music, but really I'm playing a revisited version of surf music. I hope it's going to stay strong. I see there are still new surf bands coming up. Some of them are fading out. But I noticed that many bands are not just fading out, changing and doing something else, like it happened at the end of the 90s. Many bands who started with surf to then say, oh, no, surf, let's do something else. No, now bands are starting surf, staying surf. Maybe they split, they don't exist anymore, but it's not anymore like a place to start. Very few bands probably from the 90s started with surf and remain with surf. Surf is not just the start, it's also the destination. I think it's going pretty okay. There are new bands. For example, talking about Italy, I've seen lately 2 or 3 new bands coming up that are pretty good. One, by the way, just been signed by Music Recording, so by Art in Italy. And I still see new bands coming up. I hope these influences are still going to mix up. But at the same time, what I've noticed, a little comeback to the traditional sound. I've been noticing this while touring in Europe, especially, but not only Europe, but I would say in Europe mostly, where if you remember well, 15 years ago, there was a lot of contamination, a lot of mental instrument thing or electronic or metal getting into surf music and changing it radically. So much that we all were saying, no, I'm not sure if it's a case of calling it surf music anymore. Right now, I noticed that when people talks about surf, mention surf music, they really refer to the Jaguar Jazzmaster Stratocaster reverb sound, all this kind of things. So there's a little comeback to the traditional surf. So I don't know if it's going to stay. We'll see what happens. Hope to do again the Surfraggio Summer Festival next year, and we'll see. But have good and positive energies.
Yeah, I like that, man. You and I think definitely get along really well with, always moving forward, always working on something, right? Always working on a project, making sure that we've got something on our calendar no matter what's happening in the world. So that's super awesome. Just to always see your hustle, and you're doing an amazing job out there, man. So when things all, we all go back to normal, you're going to be there doing the festival and just, pushing on, and your diner. Where can we find you online? Where can a lot of us here in the United States find your music, and where can we follow you on social media?
Social media is pretty easy. You look for Lorenzo Surfer Joe on Facebook or Instagram. This is the two things that I'm mostly using. And of course, the website is the easiest because I have surfmusic.net. So that's my website. You can find there, and you can see the play thing, or links to where to buy the records, and so on and so on.
I can't thank you enough, Lorenzo, for doing this. I really wanted to bring the international perspective of what's happening in Europe, and you are it. You are truly the number one guy that, in my opinion, can somehow represent Americana out there. And proper surf music that crosses over into tiki. So thanks, man. The last question is the most important. Okay, pineapple on your pizza. Do you do it?
Oh, show is over.
That's it.
No. Oh, do we have another couple of hours here to discuss this matter, which is the most important discussion over the Facebook? Well, I have friends even in California that defend my point that pineapple doesn't have to go on the pizza. But, there's a long list of people who are ready to offend me for this thing. But no, I am definitely for the no on the pineapple. No, no to the pizza.
Guys, make sure to follow Lorenzo on all the really cool things on his social media, on his website, and everything he's going to be doing probably within the next year.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff, Big Tiki Dude, and we're back with some more. We just finished it up right there with the Tiki Orchestra, and they were influenced by the Blue Hawaiians, which we played before. That was their song Black Sand, Blue Sea, And then up next, we have Northern California's Aqua Velvets with Return to Paella. Hey, we're back again. This is Jeff, Big Tiki Dude, and we're talking about the mix of surf music and tiki and how they kind of cross over. What we played there was the Return to Paella by the Aqua Velvets from Northern California. There's a lot of bands that have kind of specialized in doing this mix, so I could have gone on and on and on. But we have one more band here, and it's international. They're kind of from South America and also Germany. It's the Los Twang Marvels and Space Tiki Twist. Okay, we're back. This is Jeff, Big Tiki Dude, and we're talking about the mix of tiki music and surf music and how they kind of go together. And we finished it up there with Los Twang Marvels with Space Tiki Twist. And this is all tying in with our presenting of the Lowbrow Luau. And it's going to be at the Golden Sails Hotel in Long Beach on Memorial Day weekend. So we've got some good bands that are going to be playing at that are going to be mixing surf and tiki and kind of doing their own things, but then also crossing over. So we hope that you'll come and check that out. 3 days of fun in the sun, and hope to see you there. Have a good one. Cheers. Aloha.
By now, you've been thoroughly immersed in tiki music and culture. We hope you recognize how important it is to help our musicians pay their bills, and you can support them by clicking over to StellarJAX.com or on Venmo at JAXhideaway. If you missed any of our past shows, see them on YouTube at our channel, StellarJAX, JAX. And please, take 1 second to subscribe to StellarJAX. There's more good stuff coming every Sunday on our noon matinees, Pacific Daylight Time, broadcasting on both Facebook and on YouTube. Mahalo!